All right, everybody, welcome again. We are doing this video on Hasta Nakshatra for KRSchannel, and we've been doing a series of these Nakshatra videos for KRSchannel, and then we said let's have this group discussion again on Hasta Nakshatra. So today we have a group of panelists who would also be sharing their views on Hasta Nakshatra. So we have Dr. Aditya Togi. Welcome, Dr. Aditya Togi. We have Eve Mendoza of Eve Astrology. Then we have Dr. Kanoli Santiprashan, and we also have Bharat Ram. So all of you, welcome to this session on Hasta Nakshatra. So, how we would be going about with this session is I would very briefly speak about Hasta, and I'll speak about Savitar very briefly, and then we can start with Dr. Aditya Togi, who will take us through the astronomy bit of things, and then the rest of the panelists will chip in, and I'll be chipping in between, and I'll be contributing. But it's fascinating that we are talking about Hasta, and I'll also be talking very briefly with Sandeepji about Savitri Gayatri, right? Now, everybody thinks we talk about Gayatri Mantra, and Gayatri Mantra is connected to or associated with the deity of Hasta Nakshatra, which is Savitur. But this mantra is called also as Savitri Gayatri because all Gayatris have 24 syllables. Okay, so all mantras which are 24 syllabled, because there's a 24 syllable meter, it's called as Gayatri. But this specific Gayatri we're talking about for Savitar is called as Savitri Gayatri. So I'll talk about that later. But let's talk about Savitar himself. Now, when you go to Rig Veda, there are many references to Savitar, and Savitar is referenced by different names. One, he is also called as Hiranya Bahu, which means golden armed. He's also called as Hiranya Rupa, which means golden in form. He's also called as Hiranya Pani or Hiranya Hasta. Again, it's a reference to golden hands. And the more you read about Savitar, the deity, he is the deity for inspiration. And every morning, most of the Indians, right, as you get up in the morning, the first thing that you do is you rub your palms and you open your palms and then you say a mantra. Okay, and the mantra says, Karagre vasate Lakshmi, Karamadde Saraswati, Karamule tu Govinda, Prabhate Karadarshanam. Now there are various variations of the same mantra. Different parts of India, the same thing. There's a slight variation in the mantra. But this is how I have been taught. And what you do is after you rub and you say this mantra, Karagre vasate Lakshmi, Karamadde Saraswati, Karamule tu Govinda, Prabhate Karadarshanam, and then you rub your face with it. So basically, what you're saying is Karagre vasate Lakshmi. Lakshmi resides at the top of the hand. Karamadde Saraswati. It's Saraswati, goddess Saraswati of knowledge. She resides at the middle of the hand. Okay, and and you also say that it's Vishnu who resides at the bottom of the hand, and that's what we pray to all these three deities at the beginning of the day. And in different parts of India, as I said, the same mantra there is slight variation in different parts. People have a different variation of the same mantra. But essentially what you're doing is, they say there is a lot of static energy, because once you sleep and get up, because you're always very, tamasic, because you're sleeping all the time. So a lot of ions have accumulated on your body, and you rub that, you charge those ions, you say the mantra, and then you put the ion, those positive ions on your body. So you're drawing that energy of the mantra into your body, right? And those people who also chant the Savitri Gayatri, it's said that these people go very deep into study of spiritual knowledge. So Savitri Gayatri is supposed to be very good for spiritual knowledge, study of great, knowledge of wisdom, which gives you, Vedic knowledge as well. And the Shakti of this nakshatra is called as Hasta Staniya Agama Shakti. That means it's the power to put one's objective of desire in one's own hand. It's like you're trying to gain what you want in life by seeking and by putting those desires in your own hands. So I want Dr. Toki to probably talk about the astronomy bit of this, and then I will be. There's a lot of information that I want to share, but I don't want to. I want to invite all the panelists also to share, and I will be, chipping in between, and I'll be sharing more information about Hasta Nakshatra. So, Dr. Togi, are you ready to go with your presentation? Yeah,
Yes, I'm ready.
Yeah, okay. Please, yeah, go ahead.
I was just checking because Hasta. I was just looking at when was Hasta. Just few days back, we were in Hasta, and now it's. Because we have this Hurricane Harvey in Texas, and I was looking when did the Hurricane Harvey did a landfall, and it seems that it did a landfall here on Texas time on Friday 10 p.m. I think Friday 10 p.m. we were having Swati Nakshatra operating. So it's like, Swati is like again winds and all. So I was just checking that. So you can see the power of nakshatras. Anyway, I'll share my screen. The screen visible?
Visible, yeah.
Good.
It's visible, yeah.
No problem, correct? Everything is fine. Okay. So I will talk some of the astronomy aspects of Hasta. When you say Hasta, the word Hasta, that comes from the Sanskrit word Hasta. Hasta means basically hand. And when you look in the sky, in the near the Virgo or constellation, just after Leo, you see this pattern. This pattern. This is the Corvus constellation, and it's just like one star, second star, third star, fourth star, fifth star. It exactly looks like your palm. Correct. This one star is here, which looks is the thumb, and the other four stars. This is alpha, epsilon, gamma, delta. They are the 5 fingers. So exactly looks like your palm, Hasta. So that's why the constellation would have called maybe Hasta, because it resembles your palm. It resembles your hand. So that's why the original name must have come Hasta. That's from the astronomy thing. Okay, before that, to venture into Hasta, I would like to I do this basically. If you take the whole 27 constellations, if you just take the moon constellation, that we know moon consists of three nakshatras. One is Rohini, one is Hasta, one is Shravana. Rohini, the lord is Brahma. Hasta, the lord is Savitur. Savitur is nothing but another Aditya. And as I was talking to Sandeep, he says even the sun god is considered to be a Shiva. And we know Shravana, the deity is Vishnu. So if you take the nakshatras of moon, then you basically, the deities are Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu. Is the Trimurti principle in the whole nakshatra scheme. So that's that. So when you take this, and it's like, Rohini is like the ninth from that. The ninth nakshatra is Hasta, and again the from Hasta, the ninth nakshatra is Shravana. I don't know whether to say 9th or 10th, how you calculate basically, whether you calculate the same nakshatra. But it's like, if you put Rohini in the first house, Hasta will be in the 5th house, and the Shravana will be in the 9th house. If you put Rohini, or if you put any one of them in the Lagna, one will be occupying the 5th and other will be occupying the 9th from it. So it's like 1, 5, 9 axis, which in Nadi techniques, which means they are together always. So it's interesting to first of all to see that all the moon nakshatras, the deities are basically Trimurtis, and they are all falling, of course. When it is one planet nakshatra, they all fall basically 159. Correct. Any planet's nakshatra you take, they all are in 159 axis. So just like a broad overview of the nakshatra scheme. Now, when I say Hasta as the symbol of hand, what things come to your mind basically? What is hand? Like, so what if people have dominant Hasta? If people have dominant like focal planets in Hasta. Now, when I say focal planet, it means either the sun, the moon, the Lagna Lord, or the Lagna. It's the 4 types: sun, moon, Lagna Lord, and the Lagna. Or somehow where the Brigu point is in Hasta, or so and so forth, like where they have something special relation with Hasta, they may be related, or they may be doing some hand related activities. Now, what are hand related activities? Something like Reiki, which is healing. Now, card tricks require your skill of hand. Then magic shows. In magic show, they also called, I know in Marathi they call hat chalaki. Hat means hand. Chalaki means the tricks of hands, hand tricks basically. Maybe even puppetry shows. People who do puppets, basically they use their hand, they use their fingers. So puppetry shows, maybe puppet shows. And what do you do with Reiki? So they may be either connected with healing or Reiki or palmist. Palmist, when I say maybe Kiro, the famous guy, I think he had he had some planet in Hasta. If I'm not wrong, I think he has got Rahu in Hasta. He got Rahu in Hasta. So Rahu, first of all, occult, bent towards the occult. And Rahu in Hasta again related to palm. So occult and palm, you can connect the two connections there. So palmistry, he was we all know about Kiro. Again, artists, writers, sculptor, they all use hands. So somewhere related to hand. So these activities may be, and even puppet shows, which I'm not mentioned here, but even that can be included. So anything which you do with hands and other things may be related to Hasta. Now, this is another thing which I like to always study about nakshatras and their padas. What I do is Rashi, nakshatra, and nakshatra padas. We know if you take the first pada of Hasta, it comes in, of course, the entire Hasta comes in Virgo. So the Rashi is Virgo, of course, the nakshatra is Hasta, but the first pada of Hasta is Aries. Okay. The second pada, the Rashi is Virgo, the nakshatra is Hasta, no doubt for all the 4 cases. But the nakshatra pada of the second pada of Hasta comes in Taurus. Similarly, the third pada of Hasta comes in Gemini, the fourth pada of Hasta comes in Cancer. Now, you have those signs. What we can do is, we can take the lordship of Rashi, Nakshatra, and the Nakshatra padas. For example, if you take the first pada, the Rashi is Virgo. Who is the Lord? The Lord of Virgo is Mercury. So that's why I put here Mercury. Hasta, we know the Lord is Moon. So Moon. And Nakshatra pada is basically Aries. So the Lord is Mars. So the first pada will have dominant energy of Mercury, Moon, and Mars. Similarly, the second pada is Taurus. The nakshatra pada is Taurus. So you will have Virgo as the Rashi Lord, which is Mercury, Hasta, which is Moon, Taurus, which is Venus. Now, second pada is Mercury, Moon, and Venus. These are the main planets. Similarly, you can go for third pada, which is Mercury, Moon, and Mercury. You see that there's 2 times Mercury coming. So it's a very strong Mercury effect there. And then again, fourth pada also, Mercury, Moon, and Moon, because Cancer is again ruled by Moon. So you have a lot of Moon qualities coming in the fourth pada of Hasta. So now once you know which planets or which focal planets or which padas are out of Hasta, suppose you have a very strong Hasta or a focal planet in Hasta, and if it is in which pada, if you know, you can then understand the qualities of that planet, what it will exhibit. For example, Mercury, we know it's logic, analysis, reasoning. Moon is mind, feelings, art. Venus is like art, knowledge, because Venus is also a Daitya Guru. It has got a lot of knowledge, beauty. And Mars is like commander, protection, technical. So if you have maybe the first pada is like, commander, protection, technical. And first pada is what? Mercury, Moon, and Mars. So people working in maybe, police or cyber security and all those, doing with hands and all those things. Because it's Mercury. Of course, Mercury is all communication and computers and all those. Mars is like commander, protection, technical. So it has doing something with protection of the cyber security. Security is like protection again. So all those. So you can connect those and try to think about what will be the qualities that a planet will give to you depending upon the padas of where it is situated in Hasta. So definitely the dominant energy is Mercury and Moon. So you can see a lot of mercurial qualities and moon qualities, but depending upon padas, it may change a bit as we saw here. So the third pada and fourth pada is like really what you can think is a lot of Mercury and Moon energy respectively. Okay, so after saying that, so from this you get the idea of what Hasta Nakshatra will be. Okay, logical reasoning is one, and then depending upon whether Moon is also there, so it's like feelings, art, and all those things. And depending on padas, you can think of where the bent of the mind will be. Now we'll go to some of the stories. As we told that in astronomy, this constellation is called as Corvus. Now Corvus is nothing but crow. Okay, and then this is the Hydra constellation, and you can see the crow here. And crow is a very intelligent bird. We know that, and I will talk about it a little bit on crow. And what is the Greek mythology? There are two different mythology stories in Wikipedia which I read. And Coronis, another Greek character here, was unfaithful to her lover from a white crow, and then basically Apollo then turned his feathers black. So so you can see Apollo turning his feathers black and some unfaithfulness to a lover. So definitely Hasta natives may have issues. I'm not saying everyone will have, but some issues with marriage problems, something like that, which I have seen in few cases. Of course, we need to have a larger sample to study, but you can see the unfaithfulness and then punishment from the Apollo. So there's some problem in love matters, in affairs, in marriages and all. There was another story where there was some ritual to be conducted by Apollo, and Apollo sent this Corvus to bring some water. But when Corvus was on his journey, he saw some fig tree, and he stopped there to eat the figs. Okay, and then because of that, he was delayed to bring it. And then when he bought, and when Apollo asked him what was the cause of the delay, he told a lie to Apollo. But Apollo was very intelligent, and he could see the past, present, and future. So he came to know that Corvus is lying. He's telling a lie. And then he was very angry with Corvus, and then he flung the crow, Corvus, the cup, and the snake. So you can see you can see the crow. Nearby there is a cup. So this was a cup he was bringing the water. And you can see the snake here. And it was, I think, the snake who said the Corvus that there is a fig tree, and the snake promoted him to go there. Okay, so this was a story. So what, again, a story is a story, but what we learned from them, like they're blamed on the snake, there's a delay, that they can stop to eating figs. So there is like a sense of also maybe for the bent of material things, because see, again, that's a mind. We saw Hasta Nakshatra is ruled by Moon. Moon is what? Moon is manas, what they say, Manso Jatak, correct? It's like the Karak for mind. Mind can go anywhere. And when it goes anywhere, you get, probably your energy is dissipated. Correct? Like my Vedic teacher always used to say that how does the energy gets dissipated is whether if you think about too much about your excitement of the present, worries for the future, and if you linger too much in past, these are the ways you dissipate your energy basically, and then your efficiency is reduced. Efficiency is reduced, you do your all work gets delayed. So that's how, because you can see the quality of Moon there, and then that's why Hasta natives has to be maybe should control their mind and should be focused and should be aim to do certain things as per the once they make a New Year resolution or whatever the resolution they make, because that can sometimes cause a delay and deviation of mind. So that's one thing to think. And as I said, the crow, what was we all as maybe we must have learned this story in our kindergarten days, the thirsty crow. The crow goes and then he sees a pitcher half filled with water, but he was unable to drink the water. So what did he do? He put all the stones and the water level rose and it drank. So that was the story. But you can see the intelligence. This Hasta Nakshatra is connected to Corvus. Corvus is connected to Crow, and then crows are very intelligent people. There are many. I think you can see in YouTube or some videos about the intelligence of crow, how they given they can solve even problems, some small minor problems too. Like if you have certain say you if you have certain thing to eat or kept a fruit at certain level where they cannot reach, but they can make plans and then they can really work that to get that. So in that way they use their brain, and it's a very intelligent animal. So these are the qualities of Hasta, because again Hasta is it's in the Virgo constellation. Virgo is, we know, it's for analysis, logical reasoning, and they will meet what is the Mercurian energy, trying to know all the information and trying to build it up and gather that and use it for their purpose. Correct. What did this crow do? He saw there is a problem. He wanted to drink water. Then he used the resources which he had. And what were the resources which he had? It was like the stones and other things. So he used those resources to get his aim fulfilled. So maybe these people people are very logical, and they will use their resources to a maximum, you can say. Like given you, if you put them in a condition where it's a very rough and tough conditions, they may be able to see what are the resources available and make a proper use of it to achieve the aim or achieve the goal. That's what I learned from this story. So yeah, it's very intelligent. I think that's why kindergarten days are useful even now. See, you learn so many qualities. And what does crow do? Now let's understand the qualities of crow. Now there was these crows are really very meticulous in timing. I remember when back in Bombay, India, there used to be a crow, and my mother used to feed him, him or her, used to feed him bread. And used to come at exactly at 10 a.m., around 10 a.m. Just we'll be finishing our breakfast and everything. We'll be settled with that, and then the crow will come and then he will shout near the kitchen. And if you give him a piece of bread, he's fine. He will go back, but the next day again at the same time he will come back. So they will be very meticulous in timing. I don't know how they see. Maybe they have their own body clock, but you can see how it is. And even in Hinduism, they when the crow comes and crows, they say that some guest may come. So that's why because who is the Lord of Hasta? The Lord of Hasta is Savitur, who is again the sun god. He's like a timekeeper. Sun god, every time sun has to come in the morning, after every 24 hours. Otherwise, we will be in a problem. So these people may again be the quality of punctuality you can see again in them, and very good timekeeper, as I said, and also death indication. Crow when the cross, there is also in Hinduism they believe that there may be a death occurrence, and of course after that, what is that? When you do shraddha and all, you give the food to the crow, and you imagine that when the crow eats the food, then the soul is happy. So somewhere related to again Savitur, sun god. Sun god is nothing but Atma Karaka. I'm connecting that story of sun god with Atma Karaka, and then when the crow doesn't eat the food of the shraddha, then people have the view that the Atma is that the departed soul is not happy, and we have to appease the departed soul. So that's definitely connected with Atma, with the crows, and crows is Corvus, connected with Savitur, and then again Savitur is sun god. Sun god is again Atma Karaka. It's like a chain. You can see how the Atma and the sun and the crows are related. Then would like to talk about Yogataras of Hasta and where exactly they fall. Now, different scriptures give little bit different Yogataras. Some people talk that as I told, Yogatara, there are 5 stars in Hasta. You can see this alpha, beta, alpha, gamma, delta. Alpha is here, epsilon is here, gamma is here, delta. So beta is 1, where the thumb is. Alpha, epsilon, gamma, and delta are the 4 fingers. So some people consider delta Corvi as the Yogatara of Hasta, while some people consider delta. So some people consider gamma Corvi and some people consider delta Corvi. But whatever it is, I should put my battery. So if you consider gamma Corvi, or even Delta Corvi. Of course, as we know, the Hasta is completely in Virgo constellation. Gamma Corvi comes in Virgo 17 degree, while Delta Corvi comes in about Virgo 19 degrees. So that's where the Yogatara of Hasta falls. Now tell me which planet has got special position around these degrees of Virgo.
Mercury.
Mercury, correct? What happens to Mercury? Mercury exalts at this point, Virgo 15 degree, which is very close to Virgo 17 degree, correct? So again, what is Mercury? We saw that Mercury in few slides back, correct? Logical reasoning and all those qualities. So again, you can see how this again Hasta is important for all those Mercurian activities or Mercurian qualities, and then you can compare what will be the energy of Hasta natives. As we talk in Pi Paddhati, always there's an invisible influence of Mercury in Hasta constellation or in Hasta Nakshatra, so that you can see. So now imagine Virgo 17 degree and Virgo 19 degree. So if you have any focal planets at around that point, maybe people can comment about it and tell what they find. Now tell me when the sun will be crossing Virgo 17 degree and Virgo 19 degree. Even I don't know, even I have to check now. But can anyone say?
Probably September 1 or 2, right? September 2, 4, something like that. September month.
Definitely not September.
August then? August.
Definitely not August. When the sun goes to Virgo?
September 15.
So when the sun goes to Virgo, it has to be after September 15th. So it's October 4th around.
October.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's October around.
Right.
Yeah, maybe probably because it's from September 17th is the first degree of Virgo. So you can say that 17 degrees of Virgo will be what? 16 plus 17, 33 September. 33 September is 3rd October. 3rd October. So around 3rd October and 7th October, around that, first week of October. Maybe Gandhi Jayanti, correct? Gandhi may have, probably Gandhi may have sun in Hasta. So now you can relate, I don't know how was Gandhi's father. Because sun is also, father, karak for father. So
his father was an accountant or a lawyer or something, right? For the king, something like that.
His father was a lawyer, guys. His father was a lawyer, and he was, he has his son in the 12th house in Hasta Nakshatra.
Oh, okay. Okay, but okay, lawyer. So I'm thinking about what are the special Mercurian qualities maybe his father may be having. I think how about his
Uttara Falguni becomes the nakshatra directly behind, remember? So the Sampat nakshatra of Uttara Falguni becomes Hasta. So you will see an involvement between those two nakshatras, as well as Uttarashara, right? Because Uttarashara becomes the Parama Mitra. So it's an interesting, so this, yes.
So it's the sun crosses this Virgo 17 degree around 3rd October, and maybe 19 degree will be around 5th October, of course, plus minus 1 day. So, okay, so around if you're born between 2nd to 6th or 7th October, your sun will be in Hasta. Of course, there may be other planets in Hasta, but I cannot say, but sun I can say, but what points at what it is. Anyway, so think about, if you have any planets in Hasta or any focal planets, then it will be nice to check what it is and how it affects. Anyway, going to some of the astronomy aspects. So what is Savitu? Savitu, as I said, is a sun god. Sun god is what? Sun and with other planets. So it's like when I think about other planets and sun, they are all life beings for me. And there are like similar near the Hasta. So the sun is basically harboring planets which are like its own siblings. And what is Savitu? Savitu is the sun. It supports life. It gives life, supports life, and gives all the energy required to sustain life on Earth. Similar to what you find in Hasta, because and now relate this quality with the Hasta natives. So Hasta natives will be very protective about their subordinates, about their colleagues, it's like exactly like how Sun is basically holding his family of planets. So you can see that, and they are very friendly. Of course, I see that they're very friendly and they're connecting with friends and all. Exactly similar to what Aditya's Adityas are, I think all Adityas are like that. If you take Mitra, if you take Pushan, they're all like, what is their job? Basically to give light and to sustain life on Earth. And there is one star, as we said, correct? Alpha Corvi. It's a spectroscopic binary, and it's a periodic shift in spectrum features. Now, when I say periodic, and the spectrum features are like periodic shifting. So it's like, when I say periodic is what? Meticulous in timekeeping. It's like repeats itself. So at equal intervals of time. So again, there's like a timekeeping mechanism. You can connect with the energy of that crow. With that, as I told, the crow always keeps the time and comes back to you at the same time of the day. So you can connect this quality, what you see in astronomy aspects too, of periodic shifting and spectral features with the punctuality and the timekeeping mechanisms. Now, this is something which I was thinking yesterday about Adityas and the sixth house relation. So if you see nakshatras, we have 27 nakshatras, and out of 27 nakshatras, there are 12 nakshatras which are ruled by family of Adityas, or family of sun god. First is Ashwini. Ashwini Kumars is the deity. And who are Ashwini Kumars? He is the son of Aditya. So Ashwini, and they fall in Aries. Aries is what? First house of the Kalpurush. Similarly, if you take Bharani, Bharani is again Yama, who is again the son of Aditya, again falls in Aries, first house. Aries is first house. Punarvasu, the deity is Aditya. Aditya is nothing but the mother of all Adityas. So again, coming from the family of Aditya. Punarvasu is like in Gemini. Of course, there's one pada in Cancer. I will say, okay, Punarvasu goes in third and fourth house of Kalpurush. So, but these number 1, number 2, and number 3, they are not direct Adityas, but they are some are son of Adityas, and one is the mother of Aditya. But right from the number 4 till number 12, like Purva Falguni is the deity is Bhaga, which is ruled 5th house because it's in the Leo. Uttara Falguni is Aryaman. Again, Leo and Virgo, so it's the 5th and 6th house. Hasta, as we know, the deity is Savitur, again coming in the Virgo Rashi, so it's 6th house. Chitra is the Lord is Vishwamitra. We know it's the 6th and the 7th house, basically. So the two padas of Chitra.
Aditya is Vishwakarma. I just want, not Vishwamitra.
Oh, sorry, it's a Vishwakarma. Maybe I should, it's a Vishwakarma. Yes. I don't know why I wrote Vishwamitra.
Twastar is the.
Yeah. I think I may be thinking about Gayatri. I don't know why I wrote Vishwamitra. I don't know. Yeah, Vishwakarma. Anuradha again, Mitra.
Isn't Vishwamitra the sage associated with Gayatri, Dr. Pai?
Yes, that's why.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Jeshta again, Indra, Shravana, Vishnu, Shatabisha, Varuna, Revati. So they are all Aditya, right? From number 4 to number 12. But one thing, if you see, if you take the 5th house, just let's take the 5th house. It consists of Magha, Purva Falguni, and Uttara Falguni. Magha is Pitris. So only Purva Falguni and one pada of Uttara Falguni is ruled by Sun. Okay, ruled by the deities of Sun. If you take even 8th house, we have Mitra and Indra, but again, there's also Vishaka in that, a part of Vishaka. If you take 10th house is Capricorn, there are like what? Dhanishta, Uttarashara, Shravana, Dhanishta. So only Shravana is Vishnu ruled by Aditya. But only 6th house. 6th house is Virgo. Virgo consists of what? 3 padas of Uttara Falguni, 4 padas of Hasta, and 2 padas of Chitra. And they're all ruled by the deities of or sun god. Aryaman, Savitur, Vishwakarma. They're all sun god. So what? So special, there's some, so the entire 6th house or the Virgo sign comes under this nakshatra, which is ruled by sun god. And what is 6th house in horoscope? 6th house is what? Disease. 6th house is death. 6th house is litigations. Now compare these things. Like we know the sun is very useful for energy. Sun, if you want to get rid of many diseases, you need to go and expose yourself to sun. And we know sometimes for even for getting some insects or pests to be removed, you need a lot of sunlight to remove basically negative energy. Like I've heard saying that if there is no sunlight coming in the room, then the negative energies build up. And if the sunlight comes up in the room and if the room is filled with sunlight, the negative energies goes away. So all those negative energies, to remove the negative energies, then Of course, sixth house is for competition. You know, where Aditya Hridayam was given by sage Agastya to Lord Rama. It's again Aditya Hridayam, praying the sun god. And for what that was given, basically to conquer that enemy. His mighty enemy was Ravan. So again to conquer that. So what is sixth house? Sixth house is competition. Sixth house is fights. Sixth house is battle. These days, I will kind of say we all have to compete with each other, whether it's a job or whether it's getting a grant or whether it's writing, whatever. It's all competition. Okay, so disease says depth. Maybe I don't know. Maybe if you pray to sun god, you can also maybe remove your depth. So connect this sixth house qualities with Aditya, and then try to see try to work on that. What all you can think of to do. So there are there's special relation with Aditya, especially, and the Virgo and the sixth. Of course, Virgo and the sixth house is connected. But then I just thought that this is got special. No other place in the chart will be occupied completely by nakshatras ruled by Adityas. It was only the sixth house, I could say. So then I just would like to include, because I saw this number 5, because Mercury, again the sign of Virgo Rashi, in numerology it is related to number 5, and even in Hasta, because there are 5 stars representing the 5 fingers of the palm. So again, the number 5 comes to be important. Now this I have to do a little bit research about how this 5 relates to Hasta natives, and then but just got this idea of putting number 5 in connection with Hasta. And the last thing which I would like to say is, what are the festivals that are celebrated when the sun transits Hasta? Now there's one, as we discussed, the sun transits Hasta from this date, around 27-28 September to 10th or 11th October. That's when the sun transits Hasta. So one is, of course, we talked about Gandhi Jayanti, which comes on 2nd October. And the other is Vijayadashmi, is the Dasara, that's another festival which exactly comes during this time of the year. And what is again, now you can connect, as I just told, Aditya Hridayam, and that was when the Lord Rama invoked sun god to basically destroy Ravan. Again, you can see the Vijayadashmi festival exactly coming during when sun transits Hasta. So what is Hasta? Hasta is nothing but light. It is a sun god destroying the bad and winning over, getting the good wins over the bad, or destroying the ignorance, or destroying the darkness to have more light, establishing light. The concept of Savitur, light, knowledge. And we also pray to Goddess Saraswati during Vijayadashmi, around the Vijayadashmi Saraswati Puja day. Why we pray to Goddess Saraswati? To get the knowledge, to remove the darkness, ignorance. So, which is exactly like what the Savitur does. He's a sun god. He gives us the light. The light of knowledge, you can say, or the light of normal sunlight. It's all light. So you can connect this festival exactly coming during the time when the sun transits Hasta. And then finally, I just give you a list which when we were doing, I think, class with Dr. Pai, the qualities of Hasta, the Shakti, the power, the foundation above, below, and the desire. And you can see, I just put here the list. As Dr. Pai mentioned, it's Hasta Stapani. What is the Stapanigama Shakti? The power to put one subject of desire in one's hand or to gain what one is seeking. Desire and all. Because again, you can see the word of desire. Again, desire comes from mind. And Hasta is ruled by moon again. So that's quality. There's a desire. And this nakshatra gives you the power to fulfill that desire and get the fruits of that and enjoy it. I think that's all I have for Hasta.
Okay, Aditya, this was fantastic. I have to say, a lot of information that was packed in your presentation. And when you're talking, it reminded me of a connection of Hasta, which I'd almost forgotten, but I just came back to me. Is Hasta, everything about Hasta is somehow connected to gold. He's saying his golden tongue, his golden hair, everything is golden. Golden handed, golden, shoulders, golden arms, all of that is golden. And if you look at Rig Veda, many verses to him have been given to Hasta, about 160 verses, or I think if I can recollect from memory, 160 verses to Savitar. And then when you go deeper, you realize that Hasta and this golden thing that we talk about is somehow a connection to Haridra. Okay, what is Haridra? Haridra means turmeric. And if you look at turmeric, turmeric has been used in most of the auspicious functions that you see. You know, turmeric is used. And in Ayurveda, if you see, turmeric is very well known for its antibacterial properties.
Yes.
And typically it is used internally. You take haridra or haldi or turmeric, you call it. You take it internally as a rakta shodaka dravya. That's
Yes.
what the right word in Ayurveda. They say rakta shodaka, which means purifier of blood. And externally, it is called as a varna shodaka. Varna shodaka means which enhances your beauty. During marriages, you see both the bridegroom and the bride in Indian marriages, they put haldi, turmeric, on their face and their body. They smear with the body, and this shows it enhances the beauty. So there's some connection that I see. Haridra. Haridra is, again, it's, when you look at turmeric on your body, it gives you a golden hue or a golden color. So there is a very strong correlation that I see with turmeric, haldi or haridra. The color is haridra, which means golden tinge or golden. So if you apply haldi on your face, or you apply turmeric on your face and you remove it also, you get a yellowish tinge or yellow to your face. That is actually how you shine like Savitar.
And as
And very
Sandeep always,
strangely, this is something that I would like to ask. Yeah, go ahead.
Sandeep always mention, connecting words Hasta and Haldi, H-A and H-A. Again, the combination of the words of Hasta and Haldi again matches.
I think when Sandeep comes, he'll only be saying ha 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 ha. I believe that's his favorite.
Yeah, that's
Hasta
right,
means
Dr. Pai. Yeah.
hasta, ha ha ha. Hasya. The word hasya means to laugh, to make people laugh. So laughter is a very good remedy. And that I think Sandeep will cover. That's his favorite topic. He loves to. And
so we can say a lot of comedians also, related to Hasta maybe.
Yeah, definitely, for sure.
Comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Okay.
Aditya, I wanted to say one thing. It was very interesting that the crow is associated with Hasta, the Corvus constellation.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, like, typically you associate a crow with Saturn. So what is Saturn doing in Hasta? So it was very interesting. And but then I was thinking, if you think in terms of houses, the Karka for the 6th house is also Saturn, if I'm not mistaken. So it's very interesting to see that crow connection through the Saturnian connection in Hasta. Like literally, like, Saturn is Karka for 6th house, crow is the bird for 6th house, for Hasta, and how the hands that serve is the ultimate expression for Virgo also, like the golden hands, all of that.
And Virgo is service, Virgo is also service and all those things. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was the Corvus connection was interesting. And also to add on to the crow part, the Pitrupaksha crow is very important for ancestors. It's also a crow, looking at crow sign is an entire science by itself. Like crow is going at north direction, this is going to happen. South direction, this is going to happen. 2 crows, then this is going to happen. And the other thing is that even crow dropping, falling on your shirt. Like we typically joke, yeah, the crow knows where the toilet is, when it's dropping on you, the other. But then the dropping is supposed to be auspicious also, like you're going to get money. So things like that. That was another thing which I want to add on that. It was very, very interesting to see that connection play out.
See, there's another. If you consider 6th house, 6th house is nothing but the 10th house from the 9th, correct? If I'm not wrong. Correct?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
10th house from the 9th. Karma of your father. The karma of your father falls in 6th house. So automatically, that's again, it's like ancestral thing. You cannot be escaping the karmas of your lineage.
Yeah, the depths.
So again, you can connect that.
Interesting.
And what is sun? Sun is what?
Very
Sun is father.
Yeah.
Yes, Dr. Pai, you were saying something.
No, it was very interesting. You brought this thing about the connection with the 6th house, and that's what I was thinking a lot about the sixth house and the qualities of the sixth house. You can see healing is a big thing with Hasta. Again, it depends on what planets are coming there, what are the aspects and all of that. But healers, like you talked about Reiki, pranic healing, and all of that. But let us not forget, sometimes we go very deep in just get focused on the healing aspect of the things with the hand. But let us not forget that even the person who cooks the food for you can heal you.
Yeah.
Food is healing, and it really matters. What is the difference if somebody is cooking for you with love at home? That food tastes very good. That's very nourishing, nurturing. So your mother's food is always nourishing to you because she makes it with a lot of love. Same thing, the same food you have outside, you don't know whether it tastes great, but is it really nourishing or nurturing? So again, the healing qualities I'm talking about, the sixth house, is, and I've also seen there are certain doctors, they have magic in their hands. They give medicines from their hand. They say, I had as medicines and just one dose of that medicine, and I almost felt, 60% already or 70%. I feel better already. I feel almost I've healed. But the same medicine, if it was administered by some other doctor, maybe it may not have that. So Hasta has a role to play even in the magic. The Savitur is inspiration. So that's very interesting. Another thing that I see with this nakshatra, which is not talked about very commonly, is this association of this nakshatra with the Lord Ganesh. I know, maybe one of the panelists will be talking about this, but in the olden times, Hasta was the connection of Hasta was given to the trunk. The trunk of the elephant was called Hasta as well, right?
Yeah, because
And I don't know.
Ganesh
Yeah, yeah.
Chaturthi comes during when the moon transits Hasta.
Yeah, it's very interesting, Dr. Pai, that you mentioned that, because I was just thinking the same thing. So if you look at your hands, right, you look at your hands like this. So you have your hands, it's like this. So it's like you have the trunk of an elephant, which is your four fingers. Then you have the tooth of the gun.
The tusk.
Yeah, and
The
what is
tusk.
also interesting is that the mantra which you always begin the class with, you say Vakratunda Mahakaya, Surya Kota Samaprabha. So you see, like Vakratunda is I think the teeth, and then the Surya Kodi is like the brightness. So clearly that Ganesh also has this brilliant sun solar quality, which we tend to forget, but that perfectly fits with Savitur also. And Mercury is also having its exaltation and Multrikon and all of that. So that was very interesting that you bring this point, Dr. Pai, definitely.
And let us not forget that the intellect which actually wrote the Mahabharata was Ganesh himself. He broke his tusk to write the Mahabharata. It's again Hasta. And Veda Vyasa was reciting. Right? So everything about even Mahabharata, I feel there is a very strong correlation with Mahabharata with Hasta. People wanting to read the Mahabharata or something like that. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud, and I'm just throwing this for the other panelists to discuss as well.
Yeah, it makes sense. Total sense, Dr. Pai. Cousins, sixth houses, cousins.
People with Hasta will be definitely inclined towards Mahabharata then.
They'll be watching the Mahabharata, probably. They'll be.
No, I've seen that in few cases. Prominent Lagna or some relation with Hasta, interested in Mahabharata.
Yeah, I think even their stories themselves could be like Mahabharata. That's one thing.
Yes, their own life might be very interesting to be connected to Mahabharata. And I've seen many combinations that I think, Bharatram, who's going to go next, he will be covering most of that. But I just wanted some of my observations that I've had from Hasta Nakshatra is on combinations of what I've seen. If the third lord or the third house is connected to Hasta, these people might be interested in palmistry. Okay, because palms are also you're connected. If the eighth lord is connected, then definitely there is some element of mysticism. They might be interested in mysticism. Rahu might be interested in magic, magicians, because it's about creating illusions, and alchemists, also tantrics, right? And Hasta again can bring different planets that can bring you, a lot of other key themes like card games, gambling, trickery, pickpocketers, because it's very crafty, isn't it? Mercury and Moon can be very crafty, and playing instruments, painting, sculpture, all of these things are, and also like Aditya, I don't know whether you mentioned this, but I think comedians. I think yes, comedians, and they're very witty. They're very witty with what they speak. So that's one thing. And also, I've seen many people who have Hasta, who prominent Hasta in today's times, and they have prominent planets there. They might be interested in lot to do with the mobile phones. Always texting people, always lot with the mobile phones, because that's use of your hands. And I've seen many people always use this hi-fi, Hasta hi-fi, or people wanting to say, okay, yeah. So these are very, very commonly I've seen. Anyway, so let's go to, unless anybody else has any other observations they wanted to share. Otherwise, I think we can go with Bharat. And Bharat, if you're ready.
Yeah, I'll start now.
Sure.
Okay, I'll start with Hasta applique. Applique is an art where you place small pieces of fabric on a much larger piece of fabric in order to form a design. Similarly, depending upon where you place Hasta in the zodiac, you get a result which is different from what it could have been had the Hasta Nakshatra been in a different part of the zodiac. So let me first start with the legend of Kripa Kupeshwarar. Kripa Kupeshwarar is Lord Shiva. Once goddess Parvati, playfully covered the eyes of Lord Shiva. When she covered the eyes of Lord Shiva, the world turned dark, and then Shiva disappeared into what is known as the Hastavarna Jyoti. Hastavarna Jyoti is the light which emanates, or the light which comes out of the hand. And when Shiva disappeared into the Hastavarna Jyoti, then Parvati had to go down to the earth in order to find Shiva. And later Parvati found this Hastavarna Jyoti in the form of a cow on a Hasta day, and she reunited with Lord Shiva. When she reunited with Lord Shiva, Shiva blessed her. And that is why Shiva is called Kripa Kupeshwarar, because Kripa Kupeshwarar is the one who bestows his Kripa, or one who bestows his blessings. That is why Shiva is called Kripa Kupeshwarar. So this is a legend which is associated with Hasta Nakshatra. Now this is the 800-year-old Hasta Nakshatra temple in the Tanjore district in Tamil Nadu, built by the Chola kings of the Chola dynasty. As you can see, the temple itself is in a very bad state. Not much repairs have been done since the time it has been built. Of course, some amount of renovation has been done in the last 800 years, but by and large, this temple of Hasta Nakshatra, it's the only temple of Hasta Nakshatra which is dedicated to the Nakshatra, is in a very bad state of repairs. And the local, it's in a very small village, and the local people from this village are trying to accumulate funds to do the Kumbha Abhishekam of this temple, which is to re-energize the deity of the temple. So when I was there, I made a small donation to the trust which manages the temple. I've actually put down the details of the bank account of this trust in case some Hasta natives want to make a donation to this trust, so that they can rebuild this 800-year-old Hasta Nakshatra temple. The temple authorities and the villagers will be very pleased to receive a small donation directly from our viewers. Now, Hasta is actually a lance or a spear. It's a lance or a spear because a lance or a spear is a tool which can be used to attack from a greater distance. Hasta is connected with the sport of fencing, because fencing requires quick movement. The fencer has to advance, he has to retreat, he has to attack, and he has to defend. And all this he has got to do while maintaining a very good balance. Fencing requires great control over mind and body. Fencing is a very fast-paced sport, and competitions can last a full day, and fencers are required to continuously perform explosive accelerations, fast changes of direction, and intense interaction with a range of opponents. So uh, all these qualities of a fencer are the traits of a Hasta Nakshatra native. He is quick, he can advance quickly, he can retreat quickly, he can maintain his balance at all points of time. He can have great control over his mind and body. So these are traits of a Hasta Nakshatra native. And if we look at this chart of Patrice Lautelier, he was a French fencer who won the gold medal in the summer 2000 Olympic Games. And if you see, his Hasta Lord Moon was in the 6th house of war. Now, most people know that Hasta is ruled, and like Dr. Togi already mentioned, Hasta is ruled by the natural benefic, which is the moon. And the moon represents an instinctive behavior. Moon represents the imagination. Moon represents a flowing matter, psychic ability, and the ability for a quick turnaround. Moon represents the feminine energy. Moon gives mental prowess, and Savitur is inspiring. Savitur is inspiring like the morning rays of the sun. And Hastarium is a Roman word which is used to convey the meaning of an auction room. You know, the Romans conducted an auction. Whenever they conducted an auction, they used to place a spear on the ground, and wherever they placed the spear on the ground, that became the auction hall or the auction place. So Hastarium is an auction room, and Hasta natives are also connected with the process of auctioning, so they can be auctioneers. Now let's look at Hasta. Where is Hasta in your natal chart? Let's say if Hasta is in the 1st house of your natal chart, then you are completely a hands-on person. You like to do the job yourself. You may be an animator or you may be an artist by profession. If Hasta is placed in your 2nd house, then that means you're a very fast talker. You bring a lot of emotional energy into your speech. You have a penchant for stand-up comedy. Dr. Togi mentioned about this comedy aspect of Hasta and the laughing aspect of Hasta. So if you have Hasta in the 2nd house, then you have a penchant for stand-up comedy. Whether or not it's acknowledged, it's a different matter. People might not acknowledge it, but you might have a penchant for stand-up comedy. If Hasta is in the 3rd house, then you're a master craftsman. Whether you're a writer, whether you're a puppeteer, or whether you're a pickpocket, you're very good at your job. Let's look at Hasta in the 4th house. If Hasta is in the 4th house, then you like hoeing the earth. You're a writer of contracts and documents for the government. Or you could be a potter or a farmer. I recently saw the natal chart of a person who had Hasta in the 4th house. So since I mentioned that Hasta in the 4th house could make the person a writer of contracts and documents for the government, I asked him, do you write contracts and documents for the government? He said, no, I have nothing to do with the government. I said, so what do you do? He said, well, I install solar panels on rooftops of homes. I said, wow. So he's taking his hands, getting Savitur and placing it on a 4th house. So that is what he was doing. So, but then I tried to dig deeper, and I said, after you install the solar panels, what happens? He said, after I install the solar panels, I've got to help the buyer who bought the solar panels to fill in a claim form to claim a subsidy from the government for installing the solar panels. So I said, there you are. You are a writer of contracts and documents for the government. So that is what you're doing. You're filling in claim forms for the house owner to get a subsidy from the government. If Hasta is in the 5th house, then you are a writer of educational or spiritual books. You could be a journalist. You could be an expert mridangam player or a drum player. If Hasta is in the 6th house, then you are good at karate, judo, kalaripayattu. You could be a sharp shooter in sports or in the military, and you could be good at giving orders and instructions. If Hasta is in the 7th house, then you could be a writer of contracts and documents. If Hasta is in the 8th house, you could be a croupier. A croupier is a person who deals the cards or the coins in a casino. Or you could be a mudra expert, or you could be a keeper of deep secrets. If Hasta is in the 9th house, then you could be good at doing abhishekam. You may be a spiritual teacher, or you may practice Nadi Shodh Pranayam. If Hasta is in the 10th house, you could be a wrestler. You could be good at equestrian sports. You could be a surgeon if Mars is connected, or you could be a magician or a juggler. If Hasta is in the 11th house, you could be a skilled painter. You could be a priest. You could be a teacher. You could be a chef. If Hasta is in the 12th house, then you could be a day trader. A day trader is a person who buys and sells shares within the day. You could be a short-term moneylender. You could be somebody who repays debts quickly. You could be somebody who takes cat naps, and you could be somebody who has frequent changes in life. Now, here are some points which has already been covered by Dr. Aditya Togi. The point is, if you meet how do you deal with a Hasta native? If you meet a Hasta native, let the Hasta native solve the problem. Dr. Togi said, and he connected Hasta with the constellation of Corvus and with the crow. So a Hasta native is good at maths. He's good at problem solving. He can dive deep into a problem. So give your problem to a Hasta native to solve. A Hasta native is not just good at manipulation, but they can also use trickery and cunning to manipulate people. And don't get into a debate with Hasta, because you'll be outmaneuvered, because it is very difficult to read a Hasta native. And praise the looks of a Hasta native, because Hasta natives are narcissists. And never be late, because Hasta natives are extremely punctual. So that is what I have for today. Thank you.
Bharat Ramji, before you...
Sorry?
Hello?
Sorry, yes.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Yuji, please go ahead. Yeah. I think you're mute.
Yeah, you're on mute, Yuji.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go, guys. Unfortunately, I just wanted to say how beautiful all of that was. Both of you, Aditya ji and Bharat Ramji, it's always such a pleasure. I don't know if you guys can hear me, because something about the sound is going in and out.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Great, beautiful. So I just quickly before I go, I can just share a few things, and then maybe we can eventually do a part two. You guys are covering the crow, which is interesting because the bird that is naturally associated is the vulture with Hasta, and I would like the listeners to also consider and think about the qualities of the vulture, which is a bird that we often don't realize the value of. A bird that will do the job that no other animals will do. And they're very skilled also. They can fly to very high distances and drop something just to break it so that they can actually eat it. Very skilled at angles and like physics is kind of physics.
Yeah, mathematics and physics.
Physics, yeah. I mean, the vulture actually has that talent. But more than that, to add to the crow guys, in the Panch Pakshi system, Hasta is one of the group of 4 nakshatras that stays the same whether you were born on the bright half or dark half, and it is associated with the crow. And so I find that very interesting that the constellation is associated with the crow itself, because this is something much older than Greek mythology. So Hasta was associated with is associated with the crow in this system, and it never changes. It's one of the rare ones that doesn't change. And because of this, I think it's a very fascinating consideration when you think of Savitar, you think of the sun. There's a very consistent energy with the light of the sun. There's never half a sun in the sky, right? There's half a moon, there's a waning moon. The moon is changing all over the place, which is fascinating because moon is the graha that that activates Hasta Nakshatra in the Dasha system. But when you think of the sun, which Savitur is one of the 12 Adityas, then you think of it's actually a very consistent energy that does without change in our, if you can say anything is without change, most things, everything in our world is with change. But the sun overall, you can pretty much tell where the sun is going to rise and set every day. If you compare that with the moon, you'll see a huge contrast with the irregularity of the moon. So that's kind of like a little fascinating duality there. And if you see a lot of the old books and you look at the Prashna astrology with Hasta Nakshatra, one very fascinating point is this duality that's within the sign. So you'll see a lot of favor and a lot of positive things when Hasta shows up in a Prashna, but you'll also see warnings. Don't sign a contract. Do not sign a contract under Hasta, they say, specifically under the dark half, under the waning moon of Hasta. So they say that you're more open to thieves, con artists, trickery, and all of those things. So Hasta has this almost a noble quality of a heroic nature in some cases. Like you see Gandhiji has the sun in Hasta Nakshatra. So you can see this person who likes to keep the rules or likes to help everyone else follow the rules, because this is a quality of Mercury. He loves to work with rules. He loves the human condition in general, and he loves to problem solve. So you can see these qualities in Hasta, naturally the nakshatra where Mercury would be in deep exaltation. So, but you can also see this other side, which is the bending of the rules and the inconsistency and the manipulation and the trickery, the magic. I think magic is a really good word for this sign in a way. But because I don't have a lot of time, there were some things I wanted to share. One thing I'll just go through. So we already know that in Vimshotri Dasha, moon is connected to Hasta Nakshatra. So in Ashtotri Dasha, which is a dasha I'm personally very fascinated with, is 108 years. 108 is always a very sacred number in the Vedic culture. So it's always been a fascinating dasha system to me, especially when it applies to someone's chart. But in Ashtotri Dasha, Hasta is activated by Mars. And so that is also, to me, something to consider when you're looking at the skill and precision that can come into this nakshatra. And think of the intelligence of the hands, right? So we're not only dealing with moon, which the hands become a servant of the moon, right? The hands become a servant of the mind. They become a servant of the things we desire in some way. We are the things that we'd like to perfect, or the person that we'd like to touch. Affection here, touching. You think of all the things that go along with touching. You could think of hand ailments in medical astrology. I've actually seen that numerous times where the hands are actually...
Again, third house, correct. Hands,
yes.
Third house Karak is Mars.
Yes, Mars. So Mars is that, once again, Mars is a very important graha in our charts that we don't often give enough attention to, as far as being the wielder of our own personal energy. I mean, Mars wields everything. He wields the moral code. He's going to execute the moral code for us. He's going to do many things for the sun and the moon as well, the soul and the mind. So he's the direction of that energy. So you think of Hasta Nakshatra and all the nakshatras in Ashtotri Dasha that are activated by Hasta, they're all very skilled, just like Chitra Nakshatra. There's something with skill and the execution of that skill. Now, with the moon nakshatras in Vimshotri Dasha, one interesting thing is the connection between Brahma, Gayatri, and Saraswati. So you have Brahma's seat in Rohini Nakshatra. You have Gayatri's seat in Hasta Nakshatra. And you have Saraswati's seat in Shravana Nakshatra. And if you know, I don't have time to tell the story here, but if you know the stories about Savitur and or Savitri and Gayatri with Brahma and with Saraswati, there's a lot of interesting plays between these three nakshatras that I would encourage all students of nakshatras to investigate. Because one thing is, and I'm not sincerely, guys, not just saying this because I'm a female. I'm very neutral with this, but I'm very neutral with this whole thing with male and female. I don't believe we should prize one over the other and all this stuff. It becomes another division. We have enough divisions in society, right? So the one thing is, though, is that a lot of these nakshatras, they become quite, even though they're feminine, they're married to the moon, it's mainly gods that are associated with them. And I think a lot of this, some of this also happened later, so we should also investigate past tense. You'll see how much the goddess was actually equally involved. And Hasta Nakshatra is one of those where you think of Savitur, which has become Aditya, one of the Adityas and all of that, but you also should think of Savitri and Gayatri. When the Gayatri mantra herself is personified as a goddess. So I want to kind of bring back in the fact that the Vedic culture had a way of balancing these energies and celebrating their qualities that a lot of cultures didn't actually have. You know, when you look back, there was an advanced view of this. So Hasta Nakshatra is a very good example of this, where the ocean of light is personified as Savitri. And then the natural intelligence that comes in the hands, think about it. I'm moving my hands right now. I don't have to think it. It is as fast as my thought, right? It's a hidden intelligence. It's not the kind of intelligence that even comes from speech. It's a deeper intelligence. So Hasta Nakshatra is a very deep nakshatra, and it's actually at the middle of the path of the nakshatras with Chitra. And you find that Mercury does quite well there, whereas Venus supposedly doesn't. You know, I could argue and say that this whole thing with debilitation and exaltation needs a lot of fine tuning. But just in general, let's take basics. This is where Mercury does very well, and Venus doesn't do so well in sidereal astrology. I'll make that clear. So this is a place where Mercury, the helper, right? The helper, the helping hands, he likes seva. He likes to solve problems. He likes to get us out of our human condition. You think of the Karaka, the Devata that is connected with Mercury is Vishnu, Lord Vishnu. You know, the one who actually likes to come into the world and through love and solve the problems of humanity. Whereas Venus may be the absorption of samadhi, you know, where Venus is no longer thinking of that human element anymore. Venus is transcendent of that human element. Venus is drinking the ocean of bliss, let's say. Whereas Mercury is very willing to actually be a friend even in the dark times. Mercury is very willing to be a light in the darkness, to come into the middle of the tamasic nakshatras here, to come in down in the middle and descend and actually help those who are in need of help. So there's a great compassion to Mercury. And I even love that you guys were connecting Lord Ganapati before, because Lord Vishnu and Lord Ganapati are the two that I would say you would associate with this kind of compassion, this kind of, it's a lack of, you see with some of the other stories, there's a severity. And with Lord Vishnu and with Lord Ganapati, you always see a unique, witty compassion. Like with Lord Vishnu, this wit, like even the story of Brigu, how Maharishi Brigu comes to Lord Vishnu, and Lord Vishnu sees this remaining portion of ego on his foot and decides to massage it out. He doesn't hammer him. He doesn't destroy him. He works with him because Lord Vishnu knows is that infinite intelligence that knows that everything in this world is useful. He who knows everything displaces nothing, right? Lord Vishnu displaces nothing. He uses every piece of the chess puzzle perfectly to accommodate the game that needs to be played. And this is that higher intelligence that comes in through Hasta Nakshatra and higher intelligence that comes in through Mercury himself. So it's very important. This nakshatra to me is actually a very important nakshatra. All of the moon nakshatras, according to Vimshottari Dasha, if you look at them, you'll notice that they hold some kind of prominence. And you'll notice that the friendships around them are also very unique. Because, the sun nakshatras become immediately very important. They become very friendly. So this is why, Bharat Ramji, this is so fascinating. You are even talking about signing contracts for the government and all of these things. Uttara Falguni, Uttarashada, Kritika nakshatra, they're all friendly to the moon nakshatras. So there's something with these sun activated nakshatras and the moon activated nakshatras that we should always look at together in some way. And they find their stability through the Jupiter nakshatras. They find their Kshema nakshatra, their stability through like Vishaka, right? All the Jupiter nakshatras, which is the higher philosophy and the knowledge. So there's something very fascinating about this point of the moon. The last thing I wanted to mention before I really have to go is I loved the part about mudras, Bharat Ramji. That's so beautiful, like a master of mudras, or see even martial arts, palmistry, all of those things. And you guys are right. Cairo, I do believe, has his Rahu placed. Cairo had his Rahu placed there. And there's also another famous Western astrologer. I cannot remember his name right now. But he also is a famous Hasta Nakshatra native, and he was a very broad-minded, took everything into consideration, both the intellectual and the intuitive. You know, he was able to kind of straddle that fence, and I talked about him a little bit in our video with Dr. Arjun Paiji and Kapilji on Guru Chandal Yoga, to kind of dispel some of the myth around this horrible, so-called horrible yoga, which is actually in our society sometimes very good. So he was one of the natives that had this yoga, but he also had Hasta Nakshatra. So he was a very intelligent person, observant, and he took all the information in and then he came out with it. So Hasta Nakshatra is this very broad-minded place to be. And of course, we can get malefics, so-called malefics. I mean, even Venus can be a malefic in this case. So I don't like us getting hung up on all this good and bad. It will immediately limit your intelligence if you get hung up on good and bad. So, but with Hasta, you could see some planets there kind of having an opposite effect sometimes. Like you would think someone would be skilled with their hands, but someone might have injured their hands very badly and not be able to use their hands. So you have to be very careful when you're actually looking at someone's chart. I've seen this scenario quite a few times where there's been an overload of grahas in Hasta Nakshatra and someone's had a hand injury, or they've had a wrist injury, or something has affected their use of the skills of their hands, or what do you call it, a carpal tunnel? With the constant typing, and like Dr. Arjun Paiji was saying, like being on the phone, being on technology, just using that intelligence is within the hands. So, but healers too, that people who have access to that intelligence within the hands even more so than their intellect, and may not even be able to verbalize some of the things that they experience. Even though Hasta can be a good speaker, it can also be trying to fit too many things through its mind at once. Or I have met Hasta individuals that are literally much more intuitive in some way, and they may have methodical speech. For instance, if Saturn goes there, they may choose to speak very slowly. They may, so I've noticed some effect on the speech with Hasta Nakshatra, as well as the use of the hands. So it can be like Bharat Ramji was bringing to attention, a fast speaker or methodical speaker, or a person with interrupted speech, actually, if you get too much energy there. So, but anyways, guys, I have to go, unfortunately, and this was very lovely. I wanted to see Santipji's presentation. Maybe I can stick around for 5 minutes if we just get started now.
Yeah, I think that's fascinating, Yuji, and Santip can begin, but I just wanted to add one point, which is very interesting that you mentioned about Bhrigu Rishi. I was thinking about this, Bhrigu Rishi had this eye on his feet, right? And what did Vishnu do? He actually removed this, the eye of arrogance from his feet. And somehow I'm trying to link to see, Rohini Nakshatra is always very prominently connected to eyes, because prominent eyes is all about Rohini. And then I'm seeing the feet is Shravana Nakshatra, is the 3 feet, the feet is connected there.
Beautiful.
And then the hands of Vishnu trying to remove that. So somewhere, is it activating all these,
all of these nakshatras, and the arrogance of, Brahma is also always getting in trouble for his desire or arrogance in some way. So this is a part of the infinite intelligence that it gets ahead of itself in some way. And Lord Vishnu is that compassionate one that can push the person past that arrogance. So that's actually very beautiful. That's probably one of the major reasons that Mercury becomes exalted. This is that thing with Mercury and humility. I think people underestimate the graha, the planet Mercury, for humility, actually, of just being a human, just valuing being a human and understanding that working with being a human is not a bad thing, not being shamed. And if you notice that a lot of the other grahas, like you could see Jupiter even developing the arrogance of righteousness, the ego of righteousness, right? And you even see this with Kritika Nakshatra, Pusha Nakshatra, and some of these nakshatras that deal with the priesthood, right? So there can be an arrogance of righteousness, whereas Mercury tends to avoid that whole game altogether. Mercury can even be seen as meek, and people can misunderstand that, just like people would misunderstand Lord Vishnu when he descends being just a person, just like Kamsa. Just looking at him, Kans was not willing to accept the power of Lord Krishna, right? To him, it's just like, who is this little guy? What's he going to do to me? And this is the story of Mercury. This is, never underestimate the humility of being a human being to guide you on the spiritual path and protect you from all of these major pitfalls of arrogance that happens when you develop siddhis, or when you do these too many sadhanas and you're out of control. You think that you're deeply spiritual, you're having these visions, whatever it may be. You could be just as deluded. As a matter of fact, I would rather be around a person who's just human and has everyday normal human desires, because at least that person is being natural and real, and they're not overinflating the sense of righteousness or inflicting anything on anyone else out of their lack of responsibility with their spiritual energy. So Mercury actually becomes a very important planet to keep the lightness of heart on the path, to keep the humor in the human condition. The humor of it is humorous. The human condition is humorous. Anyone who says it's not is fooling themselves. And so the human condition here in Hasta Nakshatra is very amplified. And I'm thinking of the vulture just now. I really do have to go, but I just had one more thought with the vulture, actually. Is that you get these sky burials, right, with the Zoroastrians, with the Tibetans. You get this, like, the mortality. It's like, okay, we are literally returning you to the cycle of life. Your body is finished. And these vultures do the job that no one else wants to do. They eat the waste. They come and they clean. They actually purify. So we think of a vulture and, we might think of a dirty animal. We'd be wrong. They're actually doing the job that that we always want to glorify, the lion and the eagle and all these animals that relate to our ego self, that we want to be invincible. We want to be, we don't want to be vulnerable. But these animals that are vulnerable, and these animals that represent sometimes even the darker side of life that we shut out, are the cleaners, and they're very pure. They're very, like bats, for instance. We're all afraid of bats. Speaking of bats with Mercury, right? I think Dr. Paiji, you spoke of bats related to Mercury in, is that Lal Kitab?
In Lal Kitab, yes.
Yes. So you think of bats, everyone's scared of them. People get panicked, and they actually pollinate flowers. They clean the atmosphere of mosquitoes, which can harm other beings, or that breed out of control. So there's all these things, like Hasta Nakshatra being the vulture. I would ask everyone to look at it in a different way. And then the other thing with the crow, which is so brilliant with the Panch Pakshi system, which I won't get into here, but is so brilliant, is that, yes, this nakshatra is deeply associated with that animal, the bright half being earth element and the dark half being fire element. So if you were born on a waning moon in Hasta Nakshatra, they would have given you fire. That would have been connected to the crow and the fire element. And if you're born on a bright half, a waxing moon in Hasta Nakshatra, it would be connected to the crow and the earth element. And I believe the north direction and the south direction, I believe. I'd have to. So, okay, guys. Thank you so much for having. Thank you so much. So much reverence for all of your knowledge. Really, thank you.
Thank you very much, Evji, for joining.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was very fascinating, that she had so many good points that she mentioned. And I also wanted to share a couple of more things that even Bharat Ram mentioned. I just wanted to add to what Bharat mentioned about contracts. And what typically happens once a contract is signed? You shake hands, don't you? That's a way of sealing the deal. You know, if I have to think about it, you know, from a nakshatra perspective, Maga might be the, you know, the thing that is your desire, where you want to purchase or you want to sign a contract for. It might be a property or something. Purva Falguni is where the negotiation happens. Uttara Falguni is where the contracts are signed, and Hasta is where you shake hands and you say, "Oh, deal well signed," and you know, here is the document. Okay, so Hasta has this thing about handshakes. Handshakes are a very it's accepted in most of the, you know, most different cultures. So you can see handshake is a way of showing trust and confidence. So Hasta can give you instill that. Secondly, I also wanted to make a mention before I forget about Hasta is about fingerprints on your palm. This is a very unique identity that you've been given by God. Nobody has the same fingerprints that you have in your 5 fingers. So Hasta is all about trying to bring in an identity to yourself. Everything that you do with the hands, you want to bring your self identity, and that's why the shakti of this nakshatra is to put the desire in your own hands, because you are very unique. The way you do it, how you do it, gives you that uniqueness. You might be doing the same work that has been assigned to another person, but the way you execute that work, or the craftiness of your hand, the dexterity of the hand, can actually show you how skilled you are. Third thing, you know, I wanted to also, I've observed in many people chart, if there is some prominent planet connected to Hasta or the third lord there, I've seen that they might be very good in racket sports, you know, be it tennis, table tennis, you know, badminton, and you always have to see that their serve, you know, when you're playing tennis, the serve would be like boom, you know, like a flash, because it's Shipra, it's quick. This nakshatra is called a Shipra and Lagu, light. So the way they serve and the way they cut, or the way they smash, is really, really, you know, fast and quick. So they can always take the opponent by surprise, right? So the serves will be very, very lethal with their racket sports. Another point I wanted to make before I forget is hands have always been used for, you know, since time immemorial, for communicating, because hand signs and symbols have always been used, because for the deaf, you know, they used hands to communicate to them. Hands have always been very, you know, hands can communicate. It's a language in itself, and hands are a language, right? And the last point I wanted to make before I forget is, because we always associate Hasta natives with, we say Hiranya Hasta, which means golden handed. So somewhere I feel that these people might be interested in wearing a lot of, like a golden bracelet, or a golden watch, or golden bangles on their hands. You know, it's like trying to show that this is a golden hand. So some connection with that also I've seen with people. Golden watches or golden bracelets, golden bangles. So anyway, okay, before I forget again, there's so many points that I have on Hasta. Is the best remedy for Hasta is to clap your, your palms. Clapping is the best remedy, because there are so many points. There are about 39 to 40 points on the fingers, and each of those pressure points are connected to different parts of your body. So for wellness, you know, clapping of hands is the best remedy for Hasta, because you're activating all these acupressure points on you. And in India, when you see, whenever you go to a bhajan or a kirtan, or where there's a lot of singing that happens, you know, devotional songs are being played, everybody starts clapping their hands. When the arati is happening to the gods, also people sing and they clap their hands. That's a very good way of naturally trying to activate those points in your fingers. So it's also about laughter is the best medicine. So laughing and smiling is always very helpful for people with Hasta, because smiling always brings in, it's a natural medicine, and clapping of your hands. If you can do these two things when the sun rises in the morning, so you can see a lot of laughter clubs wherever you go. For a walk, you find people laughing all the time. The laughter clubs. That's a good way, and that is during the first hour when the sun rises. Is you can stand in the sun, look at the sun, smile, and start clapping or laughing. That's a very good remedy for you for Hasta. Anyway, I think Sandeep, I just wanted to add these points because my attention span is so low, I can lose this information in the next few seconds. So before I forget, I wanted to just make these points.
Yeah, Dr. Pai, all that
Bharat,
was...
you wanted to say something?
Yeah, go ahead, Bharat.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Eve G mentioned about the vulture being associated with Hasta Nakshatra, and she said vultures are actually doing the job with no other creature wants to do. Okay, so vulture is considered to be the scavenger, one which takes away all the remnants. And somebody just mentioned, I think it's Dr. Togi who mentioned that Mahatma Gandhi had his son in Hasta Nakshatra, and Mahatma Gandhi did his best to stop the practice of manual scavenging in India.
Right.
So, so if somebody has a key
That's
planet
a very good point.
Yes, somebody has a key planet in, Hasta Nakshatra. So some amount of scavenging, it could be dredging, clearing the rivers. It's dredging of the rivers to clear the silt. So some kind of a clearance activity, cleansing activity, perhaps in some way again connected with the Corvus, the crow of Bharni, is again is coming into the Hasta Nakshatra. So
You
that's
can
it,
see
Sandeep.
yeah, and that's what he did, is scavenging the rulers. Isn't Sun is the government.
Yeah,
He's
yeah, correct,
scavenging the unwanted remnants
correct,
from the system. That's what he did.
correct, correct.
Great points.
Very great point.
Yeah, great points. That was great point. Yeah, what Evji said was very brilliant. Many lot of deep points there. But couple of things, Dr. Pai. First thing is that I'll just start off with sharing one thing, and then I'll turn off my presentation. But this is something I've always seen. Like I'm sharing my screen now. So Hasta is associated with laughter, as you mentioned. So usually I've seen that people with planets in Hasta, they tend to text ha 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 a lot more. So like they'll be texting ha 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 when they're chatting. In WhatsApp, there'll be the people who will be chatting ha 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 a lot. Or even when they are when they're just talking, they'll just be having a loud laughter. That's a common thing that can obviously be associated with comedians, natural stand-up comedians, as Bharat Ramji mentioned. They have a sarcastic sense of comedy also. That is a bigger thing. So like they might have a very sarcastic bend, and they'll definitely be great at comedy. So that is one. These are the natives who can be so sarcastic that they'll make you laugh. They'll say something, you won't know what happened, but you'll just end up laughing. That's one strong thing with the Hasta. And yeah, this is one thing, one special thing. And again, what was also interesting, Dr. Pai, was that there is this hand sign known as Hamsa hand in Egypt, and in Egypt there is one Hamsa hand, and it is supposed to be very auspicious, and it is supposed to protect you from evil eye. So that was interesting that Rohini is the trinal nakshatra with Hasta, which is Rohini associated with the eye. A hand is actually protecting your evil eye. That is one thing. But Kamsa, the name Hamsa hand, Hamsa means swan, but actually in Arabic, the word Kamsa means hand. So the origin of the Hamsa hand is from Kamsa. And interestingly, even Lord Sri Krishna, his uncle's name was also Kamsa. That's a very interesting coincidence that was happening there. That was one very, very interesting thing. And this hand is a very, very special thing, because people don't realize it, but you see in Chinese martial arts or martial arts involving energy, they don't prefer to punch using a closed fist. Hasta means, the symbol of Hasta is a hand, but sometimes they actually prefer an open fist, an open palm punch, an open palm hit. And it is supposed to be more deadlier than a closed hand punch, because the reason they say is that an open hand can release so much energy purely. There is a purer release of energy with an open fist than a closed fist. And that is supposed to be more deadlier, especially in energetic martial arts. And that is bringing this very significant to hands. So there is some deep subconscious thing going with the hands for sure, as EG mentioned. And that has been actually been used in many, many ways. One of the things is known as Kuji In, which is purely a set of mudras. It's a Japanese art of mudras where you make certain hand gestures, and that is supposed to even lead you to enlightenment, literally enlightenment. You do this hand mudras, you do the meditation holding these postures with Buddha was holding, and eventually you get enlightened just like Buddha. Other thing is that there is also one more thing known as sujok. Sujok is a healing remedy. Sujok means good joke. It's a Korean remedy which the guy, the inventor found out that your thumb can be your head. Both of these fingers can be the hand. These two, the middle fingers, can be your legs. And he correlated like the face coming down and all your chest and all your midsection, and then your legs coming, and then your fingers coming. And then putting different kinds of grains, healing this part, tying a bandage with, say, your thumb. Say you're feeling a headache. You put some wrap a cold bandage around your thumb, and suddenly you're feeling much, much better. And you can do that with multiple kinds of grains. And he called this entire system of healing, which this is something which actually thousands of people use on a daily basis. He called it sujok, which means good joke. So again, you have the Hasta theme of laughter coming up again. And there is also one more art known as Kujikiri, which I don't know, but it was very interesting to think about this Kuji in Kujikiri, names having this connection with Mars or Kuja, who is known as Kuja also. So some kind of, again, this Kuja is carrying this energy of Mars and healing and all of that. That was one more thing. And then, yeah, definitely martial arts, as I said, one interesting thing is that these are, there are martial arts that can make you laugh. One martial arts is known as wrestling or WWE, which is completely fake fighting. It is designed to laugh. It is designed to entertain. So this is also one more thing I've seen. People with Hasta, they might be more interested in WWE, TNA wrestling, or all kinds of wrestling. Even if you say you have malefics and stuff, you will be interested in UFC, you will be interested in all the MMA fighting, all of that kind of team can be clearly seen with martial arts. And definitely these natives will have a strong, they'll be quick with their hands, extremely quick with their hands. They can be wrestlers, they can be grapplers, grappling arts. That's one more thing, like Gusti or Failwan, as we say in India. But all the grappling arts, a lot of Hasta there for sure. Let's see. And one more thing is that, see, if you extend the chord of the hands, right? So hands is like, you use your hands to count. So ever since nursery, when you're in nursery school, you teach 1, 2, 3, even you're using the hands to count. So Hasta people love to use their hands to count. They will definitely measure a lot. They'll measure everything. They'll try to measure everything. And for them, being on time is much more important, which Bharadramji mentioned. And it's as if that for them, the importance of rules is very important. Timely important, it's very, very important. Dr. Pai also mentioned Hasta also means elephant. I've seen Hasta Ekapadasana is another yogasana, which is also connected with the elephant's trunks. And I also mentioned elephant's trunks, Ganesha literally representing your hand if you look at it in that way. That was one thing. Bharadramji also mentioned the using of hand for codes. Dr. Pai also mentioned using hand for communicating. One thing is that I've also seen Hasta team with handbooks. Like they may prefer handbooks. So they'll ask, give me a handbook for astrology or give me a handbook for nakshatra. That's something they will think naturally. Other thing is also that they'll use their hand for codes. So, they'll say super like this, and to the point where they'll even text in WhatsApp, they'll put like, they'll add a lot of like, or they'll put like hand emojis in the WhatsApp or in Facebook chat and stuff like that, all of that. And just another thing is that Hasta is also associated with comedy a lot, but we also covered how gambling is there. So there is this term known as poker face. So poker face is someone, you don't know what he's thinking. So he has a straight face and he's playing poker. So you don't know what he's thinking. Hasta natives have this straight face and you won't know what he's thinking. but that makes him very good at playing poker. Very sarcastic, very cutting edge with, and I've actually seen gamblers with this placement. I've actually seen like people who go to Vegas and literally earn hundreds of thousands of dollars based on this thing, Hasta placement. One other thing which I thought was interesting was that Hasta people tend to prefer routines. So where can you find routines? Routines is like they prefer a morning routine. They'll tend to prefer a morning routine. So like laughter club happens in the morning. But Hasta people in general, when they have a morning routine in place, then their life tends to go very well. That is some theme I've seen. Also, the other thing is that morning routine is very logical.
Morning routine, what? Because Savitur, is it?
Exactly, yeah, exactly, Savitur. So Savitur is the sun. When the sun is up, you feel great. And then the Hasta people are also energized. And they'll definitely love routines. These are the natives, as Dr. Pai mentioned, who will use mobile apps to check their routines. They'll have a lot of mobile apps to check their habits, things of that nature. Like, have I meditated today? Or how much have I walked today? Things of that nature. These are natural thing for Hasta natives. One other interesting thing which I mentioned a long time back was that Hasta, anytime any planet falls in Mercury ruled Rashis or Mercury ruled Nakshatras, there'll be something that comes up in their name of that particular planet. So a person with any planet in Hasta, these natives would actually have a name that is corresponding with Savitur, or they will have a name of Gayatri. They will have a name of Adarsh, which is corresponding with sun. They might have a name of Tia, which is like a Western version, Kiera. All those solar names have this connection with.
They may have the Aditya name itself.
Exactly, Aditya. This is something. I've been stunned by this. It's like Aditya. They might have a planet in Aditya. They'll wonder why is my name Aditya. But then you can think about. They'll say like, okay, I have planets in Mula, or I'll have planets in other host nakshatras. Then why is this Aditya connection happening? But Hasta actually plays out in their name. This is a very, very interesting thing. And I've been seeing this again and again. Some kind of name theme is always there with Hasta, and whenever Mercury is activated. And this was the most surprising thing, that when I was doing the stellar mind exercises, I saw this. I was traveling in a train, and then the lady opposite in my cabin had the name Gayatri, and that was a Hasta day. So literally, that's how I found that. It was literally like that was playing out. And this is very, very interesting. And Savitur's names version is, Savitri, Savitur, Savita, all of those kind of names. You can see that kind of names. Savitur can also be extracted to other words like saving, savior, all of that, savings, bank account savings, all of that, So these kind of themes are also strongly associated with Hasta. And yeah, what Dr. Pai said about sealing the deal was a brilliant point, because you see the one of the parties in India has the hand sign of Hasta, like that's their symbol. So it's very, very interesting to see if they had any connection there also. Like, for instance, Gandhiji became a leader of the Congress party, which follows the tradition of having a hand as a symbol, and Gandhi has sun and Hasta. That's very, very interesting topic to think about there. So let's see. These are my. One other thing was that we already talked how Mahabharata, these natives might have some struggle. Usually I've seen they'll have to be very, very particular about their diet. And let me begin to share my screen again so as to highlight that point. Because now we'll look into the Pai Paddhati aspect, which will highlight really interesting, which is really interesting when considering all the points we have made so far. So like, let's see. So here I have the South Indian chart and North Indian chart, and we are looking at Hasta Nakshatra. So I just divided the North Indian chart into separate sections so as to make it easier to distinguish between the nakshatras within a Rashi. But this is not how a North Indian chart would look like. I just made it for myself. Then as per Pai Paddhati, Hasta Nakshatra would actually be solar cycle number 5. This is wrong. Solar cycle number 5. But the Rashi Pada number would be 4 to 7. So you can see fifth house teams, and varying with the 4th house and 7th house teams coming in Hasta. So 5th house is natural, 5th house is Leo. So those are some ideas there. Other thing is that Nakshatra Lord is Moon, which Evji talked about beautifully. Many points which she brought out was interesting. But when you look at the important Rashis associated with Moon, such as Mulatrikon position of Moon being in Taurus Rashi, Moon is exalted in Taurus again, specifically in Kritika Nakshatra, and Moon is debilitated in third house from Hasta or in Scorpio Rashi. Then if you look at the house positions of these Rashis by making Hasta as ascendant, what you find is that Mulatrikon exalted and debilitation houses of Rashis are falling at 9th house, 9th and 3rd house from Hasta Nakshatra as ascendant. So it's very interesting to think about Hasta now in terms of 3rd house and 9th house things. So you have communication of philosophies, you have father issues, connection with father, themes of that nature. Let's see. And then finally, Moon is also the 11th lord, because Moon is ruling Cancer, which is the 11th house from Hasta. So thinking about these themes, you can see many themes like dealing with people, communicating with people, lot of emphasis on communication. Even Moon is also like, waxing and waning. Some people can also be associate Sun with routine, but Moon also can be associated with the routine. Moon is waxing, Moon is also waning. So they might have more connection with, they might be interested in, they might have a waxing and waning phase themselves. That is one more possibility theme. Some themes here is that Moon being debilitated in 3rd house may make, initially these natives might communicate a lot with their mother, or they might communicate a lot with occult. They might use their hands. You can see clearly how Moon debilitation 3rd house is clearly showing the hands a lot, that emotional connection with the hands a lot. In general, they just want to have something in their hands all the time. In this day and age, it's mobile phone, but they can always be in something else. Sometimes can be a pen, a book, something like that can always be there. Moon is also exalted in 9th house, which is bringing them higher ideals, higher connection with father, even foreign travel, books even, things of that nature, and even sense of dharma. And Moon is also the 11th lord of gains. So a lot of desires, a lot of respect, a lot of gains. There is definitely that desire for gains and respect. And the one thing which I found interesting, Dr. Pai, was when you mentioned that your mother cooking the food. And you can see clearly that how that emotions have a strong connection with your food, which is because Moon is exalted in the 2nd house of natural. 2nd house is Taurus, and 2nd house is also associated with what you eat. So your mother having that emotion and adding that hand element is definitely a great feature, great theme which you can see here, how that is actually healing you, helping in healing you by this particular chart. So those are some simple ideas, simple themes, and definitely you can go a lot more into this for sure. But one other interesting thing is that Hasta is also the nakshatra where Mercury is having its exaltation point and also its Mulatrikon position. And Mercury is debilitated in Uttara Bhadrapada. Now, what is interesting is that Dr. Pai also, I think Bharadramji mentioned how the spear connection, yeah, there is one, actually, yeah, one thing that was very surprising was that there was a recent Game of Thrones episode which happened during the eclipse, close to the eclipse, right? So in that, this is a spoiler ahead. So if you guys are watching Game of Thrones, don't pause for the next 1 minute. Don't forward 1 minute forward, But what happens is that the Ice King literally throws a spear at a dragon, and the dragon falls down into a frozen lake, and he submerges down to the bottom of the lake. That's what happens. So that's that visual that was coming, because Mercury is exalted in Hasta, which is connected with spear, and Mercury is debilitated in Uttarabhadra, which is connected with the serpent or dragon at the bottom of the ocean. So it is as so that literally you can see that Game of Thrones team of Hasta literally playing out. How Hasta is actually that spear, and this is like no one would think that okay, you can bring a dragon down, but so this guy, he's the Ice King. He's like king of all the zombies, and he's throwing the spear and bringing the dragon down, which is clearly showing this Uttarabhadrapada theme. And I've seen in one video that Simon Chokosky actually says Hasta is literally the Yogatara association of Hasta with any planet or any planet association, calling Hasta as the widowmaker. And it's very interesting that you can see marriage issues potentially with Hasta, because Venus is debilitated in Chitra, which is closer to Hasta. So, and then, perhaps the arguments with your partner may be about money or the food, those can be some things, because Venus is having its Mulatrikon second house from Hasta ascendant. But Venus is exalted in 7th house. One other interesting thing is that sometimes Mercury being depleted in 7th house, these natives may prefer younger partners. Sometimes that's something I've seen. But then other thing is that they might be incessantly communicating with their partner. No matter what, they'll be communicating a lot. Either they might be texting a lot, they might be just talking a lot, or they will be frequently calling, okay, I've reached here, all that can be happening. But then, yeah, this was very interesting to see these themes play out with Hasta. And again, the biggest connection of Hasta is that the hands are golden hands or healing hands. And I've seen master healers with this, master healers, natural massage therapists, natural, acupuncturists, very natural. They know their hands are wise hands, and definitely great at writing things for sure. They definitely want a handbook. They would prefer writing or, storing something in their mobile phone as a note, something like that. All the apps come alive for these natives for sure, because they will definitely be adding one task over the other task, things of that nature for sure. And let's see. But yeah, these are some themes that I wanted to highlight. But biggest thing was that you also have the Ganesha connection, which was very interesting. That you have that Ganesha also associated with writing the Mahabharata, and Ganesha's energy is also supposedly very, very strong here. Like for instance, you have these stories, Mercury associated with Vishnu. So you can say that you have all the Dashavadara stories around Vishnu. Like you might have a Purana written about your entire family, or things of that nature. These natives, I've seen that because Mercury is debilitation, they might have a tendency to collect pictures a lot. They might organize pictures a lot. They might want labels, colored labels for their filing cabinets. All of that themes can be there very, very strongly there, and very strong organizational skills. And they're very, very practical. The hands that serve, the hands that farm. Literally, the farmers use their hands a lot. The hands that scavenge. But biggest thing I think was how that 6th house connection with loans. And yeah, Bharadramji, that contractual thing. You are finally, when you're signing a contract, you are signing a contract. You have to sign. So it's actually that hand is always activated even in contract also. So that was a very, very interesting thing. And yeah, one easy way, recently I was mentioning is how you can improve your memory even by using your hands. So literally, if you're writing more, then you are also improving your memory. That is also one more aspect, which is again clearly seen through Mercury's exaltation in Hasta. So the more hands you use, the more hands you can use, the more your brain also expands, or your intelligence also expands. But yeah, Dr. Pai, I think those are what I wanted to share on Hasta.
Some excellent points. I think the points that you mentioned, Santip, on even Suchok, I think brilliant. I think that Suchok is a very good system of healing, and I've seen you get Suchok rings that you can massage your fingers with. And one more interesting thing that I recollect that we did in our Nakshatra classes is, now I don't know the order, but this is what I remember very vaguely, Bharat or any of you can correct me, is your fingers, right? Typically your middle finger is said to be connected to dharma, your ring finger to artha, your little finger to kama, and your forefinger to moksha. Okay, and your thumb is said to be Paramatma. So mudras that you do, this is Jnana mudra, isn't it? This is what, if your moksha finger is coming with Paramatma, you wanted to attain moksha through, and go and merge with Paramatma, and this is Jnana mudra, that you say. So mudras is a very great way of healing for these people. Yes, Santip, you wanted to say something?
Dharma is
No.
Dharma should be ring finger, correct?
Sorry?
Dharma needs to be ring finger, correct? Sun.
I don't know. That's why I this is what I vaguely remember. Bharat, do you think?
And
So,
then
Dharma, I was thinking this one. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. This one is Moksha. First,
yeah, that is
fourth
moksha
finger.
because that is Jupiter.
Yeah,
Yes,
this
Jupiter.
Jupiter. This is the Jupiter finger. This is the Saturn finger. This is the Apollo finger.
Yeah.
And then you have the Mercury finger, and then you have the Mars finger. So like
Yeah, this
five
is
fingers.
Because dharma, I may be saying sun. Artha can be maybe efforts and Saturn. That's what I was thinking. I don't know.
Right.
maybe, I don't know.
Then this is
That's
kama.
why
The little finger is kama, no doubt.
Kama, little
And
finger is Kama,
moksha is
Moksha is,
index finger. Yeah, that is
yeah.
fine.
And this is Paramatma, which the highest consciousness that you want to meet. And all these mudras that you do. Yes, Bharat, you wanted to say something. You're mute.
No, the middle finger has to be Saturn. The dharma has to be the middle finger of dharma, Dharmaraj.
Right. That's very interesting. So like so the elements. I think this is the fire element, right, Dr. Pai?
No, easy. No, I couldn't hear what Bharat said. Can you see, can you come again, Bharat? I think you
No,
broke.
I just said that you said the middle finger you said is dharma. So that's a Saturn
Yeah.
finger. So Saturn is Dharmaraj. So it can be that Saturn is correct. This is dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So it's correct. What you said, I think, is correct.
Sure. Okay. Anyway, there might be different schools of thought, but yes, Sandeep, you were saying something. This is fire.
Yeah, this was fire. I think one finger was ether, one was water. I'm not sure which. I think was I'm not sure about which finger was ether, but all the elements can also be connected with the hands also. And the hands are very fascinating subject by itself. For instance, they say that the smallest portion, smallest phalange is connected with your physical body. The middle portion is connected with your mental body or your mind, emotions and stuff. The third portion is connected with the intellect. So people with larger central portion will be more emotional. People with shorter, intellect, maybe like less intellect oriented people. People with smaller physical may also be less physical thing. So the hands are completely different. It's a completely different world by itself. There are even Anguti Shastris. I was reading about them recently. Like these people, they just look at their fingerprint. They don't even look at nadi leaves. They just look at your fingerprints and they can tell the entire future. And there are pulse readers. Like in Chinese medicine, you read the pulse. They'll say like at 28 years and between 28 and 29 years, you had one injury. Just by reading your pulse, nothing else. So like there is some deep timing mechanism that is also there within the hand. And they also say that your palm hand lines also change with age. So there are, who knows, there are many mysteries there. But one best thing is that if you rub your hands and you do the clapping thing every day, that can definitely change your mood. I can attest to that 100%. So like even if you are listening to the bhajans, like, Venus is debilitated in Virgo. So like you're listening to music and then you're clapping your hands, activating Hasta, it will definitely enhance the Mercury part and also the synchronization of the brain synchronizing with
The left brain,
yeah
the left brain and the right brain.
Yeah, so this is one more easy way. Like you cross your hands and you're touching your earlobe. These are like the thing we do for Ganesh. Probably many people will be doing during Ganesh Chaturthi. But it's supposed to actually synchronize your brain by effective communication between the both sides of the brain. And there are many other exercises you can do. Like you, with your right hand, touch the left knee and do that. Use your elbow of your hand to touch the right knee. Things like that. So that definitely shows many interesting themes of this duality, Mercury, and even the Hasta, how your hands can actually improve your memory. And that was very interesting, Dr. Pai. Like, especially the Ganesh part, how it's very, and you actually have to use your hands when you're in front of Ganesh. Like, you have to do this, right? Otherwise, there is no way Ganesh is going to acknowledge you also. So that was very, very interesting.
And then I think there was one more point that finally I want to make before we wrap up, because that's quite, I think we've spent considerable amount of time, is the point on the animal which is associated with this is a female buffalo. And let us not forget that, Aditya mentioned about the connection of Brahma, Vishnu, and Hasta being Shiva, right? Because you said Shravana Nakshatra is Vishnu, Rohini Nakshatra is Brahma, and there was a there was a great demon called Mahishasur. Mahishasur means, buffalo. Mahisha means buffalo. So he was an asur, and that's why he was called as Mahishasur. And he was slain by Durga, goddess Durga. Right? Durga is nothing but she is an incarnation of Parvati, different form of Parvati rather. So, but when she slayed him, he found a shivling in his throat. He was a great Shiva worshipper, Mahishasur. So maybe there might be some connection also very strongly with Shiva with this mythological story, where Mahisha means, I said, buffalo, and the animal associated is a female buffalo here, and it was Durga who slayed. So there might be some themes of the wicked being slayed here, but they could also, Hasta can also make you probably a Shiva devotee also. I'm assuming. I'm just trying to connect. Yes, Sandeep, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, it's very interesting because in Shiva, easy way to appease Shiva is to pour water over Shiva. Like you pour the Abhishek, so it's like, what is really interesting, I'm thinking about the Saturn idea, which we talked about earlier with the crow, because Saturn's Mulatrikon would be in Aquarius, which is literally pouring water. And, moon is exalted, you're in Taurus, which is again having the Shiva connection. So definitely something interesting there for sure. And I think Dr. Pai, you mentioned that as per Lal Kitab, you can pour different items for over Shiva to calm down many planets. Like you pour water for moon. I don't remember the rest which you mentioned.
See, it is you offer a bay leaf for Mercury. You offer sugar cubes for sugar for Venus, and Jupiter. You have ghee, or which is clarified butter. So there's so many different offerings that you give. Honey for sun. So likewise, there's so many different offerings that you give to Shiva. That's again to appease the planet. That's Abhishek. That's hydration of the Shiva. But anyway, is there any other points? I think this was a fantastic discussion, and before we wrap up, is there any other points that anybody wanted to make? Quick points.
Go ahead, Aditya. You were saying something.
I'm saying we are talking about Hasta, HA, Hasta, Harvey, HA. Harvey is getting dominant now. Again, winds are blowing. So I could see that effect.
Yeah, that was very interesting. You mentioned Hasta and the connection with Haldi also. And Dr. Pai, you mentioned Haldi is having the blood purification thing going on. And you can connect that. Yeah. You can connect that with the moon again and also the Mars again. And Mars Karka 6th house.
Yes.
So that is very interesting that if you I think probably the first time I'm thinking of Karakas in terms of nakshatras, like Mars associated with certain houses. Maybe there is some nakshatra theme that is going on there. It makes sense for the stuff for sure.
See, what is Virgo? Virgo is intestine. Virgo is, absorbing the nutrients and then removing the waste. That's the job of intestine. And and Hasta falls in Virgo. So
right.
When you maybe Haldi, again purifying, removing destroying the waste, maybe destroying the harmful. Somewhere, something like that.
Yeah, and what was also interesting is that the laughter of the human condition, right? What Yuji mentioned. This is something I heard from at the moment of enlightenment. After enlightenment, supposedly all spiritual masters, they'll supposedly laugh a lot. They laugh a lot at the folly of their thinking, literally. Like that's something I've seen again. They just laugh. Either there is a shock. Okay, I'm enlightened now. Now what? or they'll just laugh. They'll just laugh at, okay, what I've been doing so far, all the foolishness I've been doing so far, So it's very interesting to deeply think about that, So that was very interesting.
And I remember watching some of the old movies where, there was hilarious martial arts, laughter martial arts. People create that, the way they attack and how they do it looks very funny. Makes you to laugh. So there was some martial arts, people who perform them with a lot of dexterity of the hands and makes you laugh and they make it very funny as well. So, very strange. Anyway, I think great guys. Thank you very much, Bharatji, for joining, Santip and Aditya, and Yuji had to leave, but this has been a fantastic session. So all of you, thank you very much for joining it.
Thank you.
Okay, namaste.